Section 21, Papa John's Delivery Driver. June 2017 to December 2017. Age 27 to 28. $7.25 hourly plus tips. Chapter title, All's Fun and Drinking Drugs. Once I was finally well enough to work, I stopped by the veterans' home to touch base. We had some heartfelt conversations, but it was firmly stated that I shouldn't return unless I was at 100%. They stressed this quite hard. I knew that I might never possibly be at 100% again, and so I thanked them for the experience and left. There were no hard feelings. They understood my situation, but I didn't know what to do with my new lease on life. This could be a chance to refocus and develop a positive career direction, and yet, you gotta make money to make money. So I crawled back to Papa John's to deliver some shitty pizza. Why, you ask? There were a few differences this time around. My friend Jackson worked there already, I had a decent car, and it was cash in hand while I searched for the next big breakthrough. There's not much to say about one Papa John's that would be different from another. A new place with new people is about it. This location was in a strip mall with a Dollar Tree, Subway, nail shop, National Karate, etc. Parking was terrible, and people would constantly honk and fight over spots. I often just parked on the street to avoid it, even though it meant I would have to walk. Most times, it wasn't worth navigating the lot until the evening when things were quiet. Then it was just employee cars, several of which were always full of people doing drugs and buying drugs. That's the kind of place it was. I once left the store with pizza in hand and saw this guy punch a lady in the face and knock her right out in front of me. I quickly got in my car and left. That was none of my business. It was common to come back from a delivery and see kids getting arrested outside of the Dollar Tree, or a fire truck called to extinguish the strip mall dumpsters somebody had started on fire again. A guy was pressure washing the sidewalk once, and his washer started billowing out black smoke. He just kept going until it started on fire. One of my coworkers was homeless, and would tell these insane stories while folding pizza boxes. By insane, I mean he was a crazy person, and the stories meant nothing and went nowhere. He wasn't telling lies, he was telling nonsense, and there were no logical details to be remembered. The head cook had 2 phones. He was a businessman, and told me if I gave him $1,000, he could turn it into $3,000 within a week. He was a funny guy when he was high. The store phone would ring and he'd say, "Watch this." Pick it up and put it right back down on the receiver, and we'd all laugh. He had a shotgun he was trying to sell to another employee named Daryl, who claimed to be a former pistol trainer and policeman. Daryl had a sharpened bone that he would randomly pull out and spin around, and would demonstrate the numerous ways he could kill us by quickly running the bone past our vital points. I found it really hard not to laugh, but because it was fun, not funny, and the way he handled that bone made me believe he really could take someone out. It was always good entertainment. Jackson and I suspected he lived in his car, and sometimes you could smell booze in his Gatorade. Being around this level of insanity made me feel like I was going crazy too. One time, I was leaving the store to make a delivery, and while walking to my car, I saw an older man sitting in his car right next to mine. Our eyes locked. He had a serene and knowing look. He seemed calm, but my heart started racing. I knew him. He was me in the future. I brushed it off as déjà vu and started driving, but he pulled out in front of me and to my amazement took every turn I made before I could even signal. I followed him all the way to the point of delivery, and when I got out and looked around, he was gone. I drove back to the store feeling like I had experienced something strange and magical. I parked right in front and noticed he was there again, sitting in his car with the windows down, gazing knowingly into the distance. I fumbled around in my ashtray and produced a small crystal I had found on the beach. Slowly I approached him, gave him the stone, and walking backwards I maintained eye contact until I was in the store. This ensured that, if someday, when I was older, and a guy gave me the same stone, that means he was me when I was younger. With nothing to do but drive, pizza delivery gave me the perfect opportunity to get better at driving. I dedicated myself to mastering stick shift. And while on the highway, I would jump gears every few seconds, like third to fourth to fifth to fourth to third to fourth to fifth to fourth to third, until I could rev match perfectly and not even feel the slightest rough engagement. I started doing the same on the side streets, going from first to third, then down to second, then up to fourth, and then rowing back down through third to second again. As I got more comfortable, I got cocky and started chirping my tires when leaving a stop. This behavior got worse as I felt cooler and was beginning to take more risks, until it came to a head one day as I was exiting the freeway going way too fast. There was Eurobeat on the stereo, and went over the curb and knocked a sign out of the ground. Both my front sway bar links snapped, and I believe related damages eventually caused a motor mount to snap. I was able to keep driving without emergency repair, but I toned it down after that. There was a lot of different classes of people within our delivery area. I would drive to crack houses and mansions in the same day. The best was events and parties, though. They were good for $10 to $20 tips easily. You had to carry a lot of food, but it was also fun to go into the building and see everyone get excited. A few memorable moments include: 1. A customer whose porch was literally hundreds of empty pizza boxes stacked from floor to ceiling. You could smell the mold. I was looking down when they answered the door, and I saw his bare feet. They were gangrenous. Gangrenous? I was looking down when they answered the door, and I saw his bare feet. They were gangrenous. Gangrenous? How the fuck do you pronounce that? And the toenails were so long they curled almost completely around in a tight yellow spiral. Obviously, I looked up that word. But I've heard it said before, and I'm confident that it was nasty. They were gangrenous, and the toenails were so long they curled almost completely around in a tight yellow spiral. 2. An overgrown lawn with a cracked sidewalk and plywood nailed over a few windows. The remaining windows had towels and shirts stuffed in them. A lady with huge pockmarks across her face answered the door, and I saw that the house was almost totally dark. While she fished around for money, I noticed many light bulbs were missing from the shadeless lamps and exposed ceiling fixtures. 3. It was a brand new house, small but high dollar and tasteless. The kind of place that includes a 70-inch flat screen as an appliance. It was a walking distance from the store, and a giant fat man and only his boxers answered the door. He smelled boozy and looked like a pedophile. 4. This lady who lived in the nice part of town near a creek, woods, and bike path. Bear in mind, this was in the middle of the city, and she asked for all of her change back, approximately 20 cents. I didn't have any coins, so I walked away. I certainly wasn't going to pay her by rounding up. She called the store to complain. There were a few normal people who tipped really big, and their names went into my booklet. This was so I could make sure to get their deliveries again when I saw them on the screen. And if I was taking a double or triple run, I could prioritize them over everybody else. I got in trouble a few times for this, but I always played stupid, like I made a mistake in who to deliver to first. I made a chart of how I felt about tips. $0. I will remember you. $1. You don't want a tip, but you are ashamed of your nature. $2. Sure, whatever, who cares? $3. To be expected, normal, I guess. $4. That'll do. I'll take it every time. $5. Hey, not bad. $6. Okay, cool. $7. Now we're talking. $8. You're one of the good ones. $9. I like you a lot. $10. I will remember you. $15. Sweet merciful Jesus. $20. Daymaker. Can't be brought down. Then you get home with a wad of cash in your pants, and it always feels good to count out anywhere from $30 to $80. Being a cash in hand makes it difficult to hold on to, though, and very easy to go to the bar for wings and beer, especially after a long day of work. All right.